So, this is 5 Favorites with Daniel Greene! Yay! YouTube superstar Daniel Greene has consented to come on my channel for some bizarre reason. Thank you, Daniel.
Well, it's only fair after you've been on mine 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah,
I still appreciate.
I've been myself on yours, and then someone who is strikingly more attractive and handsome than me, being me, has been on your channel multiple times.
That is my friend Noah, who he has only read Lord of the Rings and no other fantasy in his life. He's just someone who's willing to be in my videos.
Well, thank you for casting someone who, just like the movie usually of a biopic will hire some Hollywood actor to be them. We're going to talk 5 favorite fantasy creatures,
yes.
You and I. And this is really fun to me. No one's done this yet for me on the channel. I like talking fantasy creatures. Let's just go with your list. Your first one is goblins.
Yes, very on brand. I figured I had to include it or I'd get angry comments. But I also just think, every fantasy epic, every fantasy book essentially needs cannon fodder. You need a fight, you need action. And throughout my long history of reading fantasy, none have ever done it as well as goblins. They are just the most simple, get the job done. And I found when they actually have the effort put into them of creating a culture, they're extremely interesting.
Yeah, when they have a culture. I didn't actually put any of the cannon fodder creatures on my list because I'm like, they're kind of interchangeable, right? Whether it's Trollocs, whether it's goblins, whether it's whatever Christopher called his, they exist to be big, ugly things. But goblins are the one that like the fantasy genres latched onto and been like, various incarnations. Sometimes they'll call them orcs, right? But
I'm a fan of lumping in orc and goblin.
Yes.
I think I go with the traditionalist view that they are one and the same.
The Tolkien only kind of after the fact pretended that they were two.
Tolkien was very good at pretending after the fact.
Yes.
People don't talk about that.
Mm-hmm. He's like, oh yes, the whole thing with the ring was there all along. Read this revised version of The Hobbit. See, it's right there.
Yes, but they also have a long history in folklore before fantasy took off that I find very interesting. And I love, as you'll probably see from a few of my picks, creatures that do pull from that folklore roots that kind of inspired the fantasy genre as a whole. And goblins are just a wonderful example of that. And I can see them lasting well into the future because they're still coming out in stories this day. And I'll one day talk you into including them in one of your stories.
Okay, maybe. I'll go with my first one, which is the obvious one, which is also on your list. So we're going to talk dragons.
Dragons. I mean, you have to have them on a top 5 list.
Yeah, I feel like you have to. Now, I picked a specific dragon. I picked Anne McCaffrey's dragons.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you have a favorite dragon incarnation.
Oh, that's a really good question. Can I cheat and say Rand?
That is cheating. My favorite, why I picked the Anne McCaffrey dragons is I like the way that her dragons are alien yet personable. I like the whole idea of bonding a dragon, right? I'm in the, if you can't tell from my fiction, I'm in the I want to use the magic and master the world, not the I want to go slay the creature and or be scared of the setting elements, right? Like there's this push and pull in fantasy where there's kind of this heroic tradition of person thrust into fantastical world has to counter it, usually with a big short sword and chopping off things' heads. But there are various different ways. And then there's the I am a wizard version and I master this environment. And so having dragons be something that is a challenge for a person to get to know, to befriend, and then ride is more engaging to me.
I can see that perspective, but my own personal taste, I'm pretty much on the other end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah?
I like dragons to be this greater than us, almost Lovecraftian in a sense, where they're just so far evolved or a part of magic in a way that's just beyond what humans can be. I think Tolkien very well kind of set the tone with that. We've seen similar reincarnations, but I appreciate when they feel almost alien, almost otherworldly, because that truly inspires that sense of awe that really only dragons can put in me. Like I've seen that, and I actually found Jordan to do that with the Legacy of the Dragon a bit. Which I think was really fantastic. I still don't have an answer of why he called it dragon, but it fits the tone.
It does.
Um,
I think that Jem just liked the dragon as a symbol in Eastern mythology.
Fair.
Right? I think that just concept of a dragon is what made him do it, but I don't know for sure. I do know, the sword that he gave me. I don't know if you're curious, but not he that Wilson gave me.
Oh, okay.
That has the dragons across the scabbard. Was a piece of his collection that Robert Jordan admired a lot. And it had those hand-painted dragons, and it's just something about it, I think.
And there's something about dragons. They somehow manage to be these ferocious beasts. They're these ultimate destroyers if you use them right, but there's still this beauty and elegance to them, even in the most primal iterations I've seen from authors who really do them justice. They have this magnificent blend, and they're, again, tied into human history where people found dragon bones or dinosaur bones and thought they were dragons, and I think that's so neat. And so I think it's, if anyone doesn't put dragons in their top 5 list, they're being a contrarian. Dragons are cool.
Obviously. Do you like the Batman Gets Eaten by Dragons movie? Or
I'm sorry, what?
Reign of Fire?
I've not seen this.
You haven't seen Reign of Fire?
I have not seen Reign of Fire.
Oh, it's so bad in the best ways.
Okay.
So it's Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey in a post-apocalyptic world where dragons destroy the world. Humans, our modern world was like digging around in the dirt, and they're like, we dug too far, very, Tolkien-esque. And then suddenly dragons popped out and destroyed the world. And now it's post-apocalyptic, and Christian Bale leads like a community that's trying to survive. And Matthew McConaughey is just like, I've got a tank. I'm going to go fight the dragons. And they're in the UK, and somehow there's an American military force with a tank that show up, and they're like, let's go shoot the dragons with our tank. They're like, couldn't kill the dragons with tanks earlier, but you talk about beautiful and primal. They do a good job with that in the movie. It's one of these wonderful movies that is a B movie at heart that someone gave too much money to.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. I do recommend the riff tracks.
Now, was this pre-Lord of the Rings adaptation, or was this post-Lord of the Rings adaptation?
Can't remember. Same era.
Okay, same era.
So we're late 90s, early 2000s.
Fair enough.
It is beautifully bad in just all the right ways.
I love schlock B movies that are I just watched Dracula 3000 or something like that.
Okay.
It's a movie where I think my theory is they just ran out of money because the movie just ends with, they're on a space station, it suddenly explodes, and credits roll saying everyone died. And I was like, you ran out of money.
So I put on my list, and you didn't put on your list. You mentioned Dracula. I put zombies on my list.
Really?
And this is because I wanted one member of my list to be this: humans become the evil through corruption by a fantasy something. Right? Okay. Vampires are a different flavor of that. The Borg are a flavor of that, obviously. That's science fiction. I picked zombies just because that zombie losing control of itself and being your loved one but not is just such a cool storytelling trope. A lot of the things on my list are like, I, as a writer, struggle to come up with things that are super cool because so much stuff has been done, right? Yeah. Like dragons. I'm like, can you come up with something better than a dragon? It is really hard, and most of the time when you do, it's just a dragon with another name. Yeah. It's a dragon without wings. It looks like a giant crab, right? Like this, and zombies is the same thing. Yeah, you can come up with the Borg and make them space zombies and technologically, but they fill the same role. My loved one turns against me and is now trying to steal my identity like their identity was stolen. It's just such great storytelling fodder.
It's immediate emotional stakes.
Yeah.
And you can even see in, who's the director who just remade Day of the Dead? Not just, but a while ago. The movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I forget it's not Zack Snyder.
No, is it? Oh, it might be.
It might be.
Yeah, I think it is.
But that movie, the first zombie attack, if I remember right, is a little girl, and that's just immediately, because it's zombie little girl, it just gets you. It's going to be right away. And I also find it interesting. I have a bit of a debate I've been having with people. I do not think that Night of the Living Dead is the first zombies.
Okay.
I instead say, I put forth Mary Shelley invented zombies with Frankenstein.
Okay.
That's a zombie. It has none of the baggage we put with zombies now, but I've never heard a good argument of why Frankenstein is not a zombie.
No, I think you're legit on that. Like, it's at least a proto-zombie,
Yes.
right? Like, I think that essential to the current zombie lore, and my biggest criticism of that would be that it has to be able to make you into one of them.
Yes, that's a very good point.
That's the fear of zombies, and anything that doesn't do that is more a flesh golem, proto-zombie, because, but it still has that same horror, right? This thing that was human is now something that's post-human.
Yeah.
And this post-human thing might be better than us, but also might lose something essential that makes it human. And, Frankenstein's monster has that, absolutely.
And then if you look at the 1937 movie, the physicality of the performance of Frankenstein is essentially what Night of the Living Dead did. They just became Frankensteins. So I thought I kind of was watching it because I'm going to do a video on that book. It's one of my favorite sci-fi books ever. And I was watching and I was like, that's Night of the Living Dead movement. Like everyone just did that. And I think another really interesting part of zombies is they are so new. I mean, yes, there has been this boom of them, but they became what they are with Night of the Living Dead, which if you haven't seen it, watch it. Amazing movie. Yeah.
I really love, I love that. That's the black and white one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best one. They all have their charm.
Yeah.
That one, I did not expect it to strike me emotionally as well as it did. I thought it was just going to be cheap B-movie horror, which it kind of is because he didn't have a budget.
Right.
But the characters really hit me.
Yes.
And the social commentary is always there, but it felt more subtle in the first one than some of the others.
Do you know the amazing part about the social commentary? It's a complete accident.
Was it?
He did not write the character to be a black man. He just cast him because he was the best performance. And the entire time he was completely unaware that was how it was going to come across. And the main actor was like, he had no idea what he's making. And then it wasn't until the movie came out, George Romero went, oh yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Which I find to be the funniest thing
That's hilarious.
Ever. Yeah.
Huh.
I've learned that recently. I rewatched the movie and I'm just like, how do you not? It comes across but it's not meant to be.
Okay, well maybe that's why I felt it was a little more subtle than the sequels, the half sequels. But regardless, let's move on to something else, somewhat human-like, but not. The Myrddraal are on your list.
Myrddraal, I've been a traditionalist in this list up to this point. I agree with you. The goblins are great. Dragons, I love how, their history, but Myrddraal to me are an effective evolution on a wraith, where you have the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings, and they're very much so. They're that, and we're going to change it. We're going to upgrade it. And I find not making them so limited to only 9 in Lord of the Rings and making it so there's more of them, they're more lethal, and adding this direct horror to their look, to me was just an absolute level up for my own engagement and fear of them. When I was a little kid, 13, 14, picking up Wheel of Time for the first time, I was maybe younger than that, they terrified me.
Right.
They were real nightmares.
And then Paddon Fane killing one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you want to, I only noticed it after the fact, but I am willing to bet that Steel Inquisitors came from that scene in Wheel of Time where Paddon Fane nails a Myrddraal to a wall.
Just kind of percolated the back of your head?
Yep.
Interesting.
But yeah, absolutely. Myrddraal great. It's interesting you mentioned the ring raids, because as much as I love the Peter Jackson movies, I think they're great. I would rank them as 9 or 10s depending on the film. He didn't seem to know what to do with the ring wraiths, right? And that seems kind of, I understand why. Like, do you fight the ring wraiths or not? Are they scared away from Aragorn waving a torch and making Obi-Wan Kenobi sounds in the desert? Or are they these ultimate monsters that you can't beat?
Right.
And Myrddraal solved that in a little bit by, like you say, not limiting the numbers.
Right.
Making them these inhuman creations, like a hybrid between a ring wraith and an orc in a lot of ways.
And they're much more killable while still being very not killable.
Yes.
And so they become also this great litmus test for a character. If you want to establish a character is, someone to be reckoned with in the Wheel of Time, you just have him kill a Myrddraal and suddenly...
That's what I did with Talmanes, right? I'm like, all right, I love this character. I want I want everyone to see just how awesome I've always seen him be. I had him go toe-to-toe with the Myrddraal, right?
Right.
He came out in pretty bad shape, but he did manage to go toe-to-toe with the Myrddraal and things like that.
And they're part of the reason why I buy into the theory that people at Wheel of Time have to be just on average better physically than us, because there's no way, like Lan is managing to fight 3, 4, no human, no matter, Mike Tyson could not take a Myrddraal, so it's impossible. So I'm hoping that is in the show, if you're watching.
No comment.
Yeah. Oh, right, you're probably more connected. There you
go. So my list, going back to something dragon-like, I have Sandworms on mine.
Great
now,
pick.
We were talking beforehand about Dune, and Dune is not your favorite like it is mine. Dune is probably the book I've read the most that is not a Wheel of Time book or a Sanderson book in my life. And Sandworms are just, particularly as they're treated in that book, as this, like you talked about dragons, this sort of pseudo deity, this small lowercase g god.
It's very spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how cool and alien and weird and awesome they are, all mixed together. And the new film's use of them, I love. And so Sandworms, I had to have Sandworms on my list.
I actually had them and removed them and put Kraken. Because Sandworms, to me, they're especially not spoiler, but just recommendation for the movie. The visuals of them in this movie finally capture how I imagine them. And they are just on that same dragon level of just when one appears, it is this life-changing experience. And I think, I think they are one of the few, and I'm someone who's hypercritical of Dune. I don't like the book that much, but I will admit, in terms of an invention for that story, fantastic. And the way they are written is pretty much perfect. I don't think you could write them better than Frank Herbert wrote them.
So Kraken, why Kraken?
So this is actually more, I love being in the ocean, scuba diving, very big passion of mine, but it's always kind of tickled that imagination for me of, there's the immediate horror of it's a Goliath creature, but then you add into that, it might not even want to kill you, it might just destroy your ship inadvertently. And if it does, now you're left in the ocean. And the end result of that is just your literal environment being destroyed. To me, I've always seen the proper use of Krakens or Goliath sea creatures in general to be more of just an environmental hazard.
Right.
I would see them being so large, they don't really care about the people on the ship. They would just be, what's this? Touch it. It's destroyed. Oh, well, move on. And I kind of, again, I like that creature that reminds humans how small we are. Yeah. And I think Krakens used well are a great example of that. I actually hate how they're used in that one Pirates of the Caribbean movie where it's being commanded around. No, do not like that.
I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But, there's only one good Pirates movie, unfortunately, because of some things like this.
Money trains can't stop.
Yeah. But that first Pirates movie, But I actually have Cthulhu on my list. I didn't know Cthulhu counted because it's an individual creature.
Oh, totally.
But it's basically the same thing. That being that the ocean terrifies me in the best ways. It's one of the few things that I actually get creeped out by. You will see this as a recurring theme in some of my books. The ocean at night, in particular. Yeah. The dark ocean, while you are a small thing upon it, is just terrifying.
Yes.
In the most primal and most awesome way.
Yeah.
And thinking of a being that exists down there that makes all religion and human culture and society suddenly vestigial, right? Suddenly meaningless, because there is this thing that existed before us and will exist after us. And if it wakes up, everything stops. That is so cool. Lovecraft has some pretty awful themes in his works, and was legitimately a pretty awful person in these regards. And I think it has to be brought up. Like, even compared to his contemporaries, this guy had problems.
Oh, yeah.
And his xenophobia is part of what caused some of these stories to be so powerful, because you're seeing inside the mind of someone who is terrified of the other in a way that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to, Cthulhu, reading Call of Cthulhu, reading about all of the kind of cosmic monsters that he had a deep impact on me as a writer, as I think it did a lot. I mean, Stephen King mentions the same thing.
It's real. I've never heard it put that way, and I've never thought about it that way, but it's an outstanding observation that, it's that I think that's where that uncomfortability comes from. That part of him kind of coming into the page. It's fascinating, and I do think Lovecraft should be discussed in depth.
Yes.
Through that lens. I think that's how you should truly view him as a writer, someone who was hateful, flawed, and that's what allowed him to create this horror that feels so human in its inhumanness, is how I would put it. Because we all kind of have that. We all have those moments where we're staring up at the sky and feel that we're on this rock floating in this black void, and oh my God, it's so terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real, I think because he was the first person to do that, it's been hugely influential. But he also, I always, when I bring up him, I bring up Poe. I found Poe to hit on similar feelings through different mediums.
Yes.
He has
not
a very...
as xenophobic,
Yeah.
more scared of the potential inside of all people.
Yes, exact right way to put it. And Stephen King is a much more digestible version of those often. I find him to be taking their works and kind of crafting it more into, you know, Pennywise is Cthulhu,
Yes.
but made into a literal childhood fear.
Yes.
Which works extremely well. Good for him. He's now richer than all of us ever will be.
And I think Stephen King's a legit genius. I think his prose is magnificent.
He's been writing an interconnected MCU style universe since long before anyone even thought of it. It was I forget which book I finally realized it. Maybe it was The Shining, where there was just enough connections made where I went, oh wow. And I think a lot of I don't like telling Stephen King readers about how it's all interconnected because I want them to have that moment.
It was Dark Tower for me, which is the obvious one. Right. But I mean, this was for me the 90s, pre-internet, and I'm like, wait a minute. But my number 5 is actually the Ogre.
Oh, okay.
You picked Mirajal, I picked Ogre.
Okay.
I picked Ogre because and this again encapsulates an entire genre of fantasy creature. The fantasy creature that sees humans as an oddity. Yeah. I love it when they're like, wow, you're so interesting. And as writers, we love to do this to kind of poke at what things humans do and accentuate them and in some ways exaggerate them by having an outside observer be like, why do you do this thing? Why are you so hasty? And obviously, much like the Myrddraal are an evolution of the Ringwraiths, the Ogre are an evolution of the Ents in Lord of the Rings. Wheel of Time, one of the things I love about it, but one of the other things you have to acknowledge is it really does draw a lot on Dune and on Lord of the Rings as influences and kind of mixes and matches and then evolves the genre. And Wheel of Time's kind of place in the genre in my eyes is to kind of take fantasy out of the shadow of Tolkien and move it forward. A lot of the 70s and 80s fantasy was very Tolkien. Oh, yeah. Very Tolkien. And you watch The Wheel of Time kind of start very Tolkien and move out of that shadow. And the Ogre are a good example of that, in that they start, when you first meet them, you're like, oh, this is kind of like Treebeard. Okay. But then the personality and the depth that Robert Jordan's able to give over time to Loial and the Ogre, and to use them as a lens through which to see humanity, is so cool. And as a genre, I just love creatures that do that.
Well, I think going off what you said, the personality is what makes them work so well, because they leap off the page in terms of their little quirks and the way they view us. And I love the way you put how they view humans as this oddity, because you can write two different types of creatures that view humans that way. They're very logical, they're very emotional. Ogre kind of sit in this middle. Like Vulcans view humans as an oddity because they're so logical and we're so not. Ogre are very logical, but they're also hyper emotional. They just have this, they view us that way because our way of thinking feels so different than theirs. And it's due to their age, it's due to their connections with nature. I love they have that similar approach.
Well, and I love how he does, in those books, brings the Ogre, the Shan-Chan Ogre across after you're used to Loial and how he is, and then you get a completely different take on the same fantasy creature, and it feels so wrong and so alien, it makes the entire Shan-Chan culture feel wrong. Because it's like, if you take a person like Loial and you turn him into one of this, there's something wrong with you. Yeah. And it's just kind of perfect sort of zombie metaphor again.
It's always reminded me of the Oliphants in Peter Jackson's movies, how they seem so abused and used. And I've always kind of viewed the Ogre there in the same way, where it seems like they're just being violated.
Yeah.
And people always talk about what additional books they want from Wheel of Time. I would love what happened to the Ogre over there
Oh,
exploration.
interesting.
Yeah. The history of the Shan is one that I want. It would be vile, I'm sure, and a very dark read, probably darker than anything else in the series, but it would be fascinating.
Yeah.
And the other thing with Ogier is they also, they're not as well defined as a lot else in Wheel of Time. Aiel, we get so much depth of their history and culture.
But it's all through one character, essentially.
Yeah. Ogier are just kind of, there's not a lot of answers there. They just exist in this world. We don't know where they came from. We don't know the why. They're connected to these places. We don't know why. And I like that level of mystery. It felt very indulgent because I like that it's the author kind of, I'm sure he knows, but we don't get to. And I like when authors do that every now and then. And there needs to be more of that in Wheel of Time, in my opinion.
So your last one is a creature I don't know.
Sure.
The Deadback?
Deadback. So I've been Dybbuk. I actually don't know the pronunciation. This is one I've come across from my own writing, and I'm getting very into ghosts and ghouls. And this is specifically, I believe, from Jewish folklore. And it is a spirit that comes into our world, has unfinished business, and instead of just haunting, it actually has agency. It takes someone over, and it starts trying to fulfill its quest through this person. And I was reading up about these, and I was just fascinated by it because the spiritual and the ghost realm and the human realm are very often disconnected in fiction. And I like the idea of this thing that can bridge it and take someone over in a very, not demonic way, because it's not demonic, but in that way that's trying to accomplish their goals. And I'm fascinated by the paranormal as someone who's not very believing in it. I'm still very interested by it.
Right.
And it's one of the few things that I have not seen, to my recollection, Jim Butcher use. So I was able to go, I can grab this.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jim has done a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of books in that series and a lot of mysteries to be solved and a lot of creatures that need to be involved in them. So that's really cool. I like this idea. I had never heard of this, that it comes to do something.
Yeah. Allowing agency to the ghost world.
Yeah.
Love that.
Daniel, thank you so much for coming and doing this with me.
Love it.
If for some reason you guys aren't aware of his channel, you should absolutely go watch some of his reviews. He does some really fun stuff, all kinds of things, not just reviews. There's sketch comedy on your channel as well.
It's news. It's weird. It's disheveled. That's the brand.
Thank you guys very much, and thanks for watching.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on.
Yeah.